Hi, I'm Clay Green. I'm here in beautiful San Marcos, Texas, and I want to be the next gear tester for Backpacker magazine. I want to tell you about my first backpacking experience. It was about 30 years ago in a place not too far from here. I was 11 years old and I was on my first scouting trip. And let me tell you, it was a miserable experience for me. I had one of these orange Scout backpacks, aluminum frame, fit for an adult, not for a kid. Didn't have a hip belt. It had basically a rope that was supposed to act as a hip belt. I had one of those cotton sleeping bags, about the size of a hay bale, and I had boots that wrong size, probably on the wrong feet. But let me say that it was a miserable experience for me, one that 30 years later I still remember. Well, fast forward to today. Today I'm a father of 3, a scoutmaster of a troop here in San Marcos, Texas, about 40 young men who all share a passion for the outdoors, and I'm a wildlife biologist. Now, I could spend many hours talking with you about my love of the outdoors and all the great experiences I've had in the outdoors. I could talk to you about my memories of climbing the Chilkoot Pass in Alaska, or the CDT in the Bob Marshall Wilderness, or perhaps one of my greatest memories of bagging my first 14er. As 15, I climbed Mount Windham in the Weminuche Wilderness, only to do it again 20 years later, this time with my oldest son. I could talk to you about all my wilderness canoeing experience and my trips that I've enjoyed in the boundary waters of Minnesota and Ontario, the Blood Vein River of Manitoba, and then, close here at home, the Rio Grande River in Texas. I could also talk to you about how my love for the outdoors and all my experiences as a youth led me to want to work in the outdoors as a professional. My first experience in the outdoors as a professional was after graduating from college. I applied to be a volunteer in park for the National Park Service, and I had the great opportunity to work at Olympic National Park in the Sol Duck Ranger Station. I was a backcountry ranger, spent 5 months in a tent, perhaps the greatest summer of my life. I really enjoyed the outdoors. But then, after that was done, I needed to figure out what to do with the rest of my life. I went and pursued a graduate degree, a master's, and a PhD in wildlife biology, where today I am blessed to be a wildlife biologist. And not only do I get to work in the outdoors with wildlife, but I get to teach young men and women about wildlife conservation. Well, let's go back in time, back to 1980, to that young scout who had just experienced a miserable time backpacking. She may be wondering, well, how the heck did this guy turn out to be what he is with a love for the outdoors? Well, for one simple reason: backpacking gear. After that camp out, my dad bought me a Peak 1 backpack, I still remember it, a North Face Mummy sleeping bag, which I still have, and an actual pair of hiking boots that actually fit me and did what they were supposed to do. Well, I went backpacking a short time later. I loved it. It was a great trip. I still remember that trip, and I fell in love with the outdoors, and well, let's say the rest is history. I think it may be hyperbole to say that backpacking gear altered the course of my life, but I think it's at least fair to say that it had a strong impact and influence on where I am today. So you may be asking, why do I want to be a gear tester for Backpacker magazine? Well, for me, it's simple. It all comes down to the equipment. The proper equipment can make the difference between a trip of a lifetime and a trip you just as soon forget. A trip that some, maybe their first time, would never go back and try it again. In this day and age, people don't have the luxury to buy 3 different headlamps to see which one's going to do the job they need, or to buy a couple tents to see which one's going to be keep them the driest, or which sleeping bag's going to keep them the warmest on a cold night. To me, that's the success of Backpacker magazine, and specifically the gear guides and the web reviews on equipment. It gives the consumer a reliable source of information they can be confident about in their purchasing, in order to give them the best experience they can in the outdoors. We live in a world of increasing urbanization, where fewer and fewer people are getting outdoors, where people are becoming estranged from the outdoors, especially among our youth. And it's important that we reverse that trend, that we give them the best gear recommendations to make their experience the best possible it can be, to get them hooked on the outdoors, to get them going on more and more trips. Who knows what lives we can change? Who knows what courses we can alter? I want to tell you about men who all share a passion for the outdoors. Which sleeping bag is going to keep them the warmest on a cold night?